It is. Hi, I'm Tim Chuckle, and I'm the Assistant Activities Director for the district. I want to thank the board for taking the time to hear about the successes our students have been having in and out of the classroom. But instead of me talking about it all, we have brought a bunch of this activities here today to speak to you. As you can see, a few things with our department highlights, all the top senior GPA, state qualifiers. The one that's not on there is swim and dive. They just had their sectional meet just this weekend. And then, of course, conference champions. We had a really good fall with our athletics teams, but also with the competition with the marching band. And then also, we had a freshman orientation where our athletes talked to and activities talk to the freshmen about what it's like, freshman life is like, and just getting acquainted with what's going on at the high school. So with further ado, we're going to start out with boys cross country, and then we'll just roll down from there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we're just going to start some introductions. I'm TJ Pennycook. I'm one of the junior captains.
I'm Ethan Swanson. I'm also one of the junior captains.
I'm Cy. I'm another junior captain.
I'm Jagger Rudabush. I'm a senior captain, and Zach Waterman is the other senior captain. He can't be here today.
This season kind of started out. This season kind of started out like a little bit uneasy because we graduated 4 of our top 5 last year, so we were thinking it was going to be more of a rebuilding year. But then we hit our first meet, and it really kicked off the season well. So,
Yeah. On top of that, like our entire team, including the JV team, we had a huge combined PR, including like the JV. So combined, we had 19 minutes and 22 seconds from beginning of the season, including last season PRs, to the end of this season. And then that averages out to an average PR time of 1 minute and 22 seconds. Yeah.
All right. Just for some of our big races, we placed 17th at GRIAC, which is a national meet. So that was a pretty fun experience for all of us. We had an undefeated regular season with winning conference and sectionals. And then we had the fun experience of going to state and finishing 9th at state.
To start things off, we ended up doing captain's practice in the summer. We got the whole team together, and this is where it really makes the team. We ended up getting really close as a team. We were able to really train and get moving after it, and that's really what helped us to our success this year.
yeah, and also another part of like the cross country team was our spaghetti dinners were really, really fun. Great way to bond, just carb loading.
Oh, yeah. And then we did a bunch of new stuff this year. Like we did freshman buddies, it helped us to bring in our freshmen this year, we actually had a higher turnout of freshmen showing up to captain's practice in previous years, because typically they just don't know about it and they don't go. But this year they actually went, and so it's a good thing to do because the captains and even the entire team reached out to the freshmen and encouraged them to come to practice and come to captains. So.
Also going off of freshman buddies, we assigned freshmen to different captains and different returning athletes, and we kind of guided them through their journey. Any questions they had about running, anything about our season, dates, practices, and then we also kind of invited them some fun ultimate frisbee or any fun activities we did. We also, during the summer and during our season, we volunteered at community races and other events for fundraising. Sorry, I forgot the word. Fundraising. That kind of also just build our team bond, and also fundraising, which also got us to these nice clothing and the banquet and whatnot.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
That's about it.
Yep.
We're for the captains from the girls cross country team. We have Britta Holter, who's not here, but I'm Lila Velchek.
I'm Kate Anderson.
I'm Piper Jensen.
My name's Addie DeZiel.
So this year we saw lots of improvement all around from our team. And our new head coach, Melissa Burkhart, was awesome and super knowledgeable in running. She trained us in a way that was different from what we were used to, and she was very motivating for us. And I'd say that everyone on the team, JV and varsity, benefited from her coaching skills. As a team, we decreased our average time. I think it was, I don't know, per person it was around 45 seconds to a minute. We placed third as a team at sectionals. Another thing that we do as a team is every day before practice, we meet and share what we're grateful for that day. We also have a daily question, and this really helps us to grow as a team as it connects us by hearing about people's days and lives and gives us the opportunity to check in on one another. It also helps us to bring positivity to our minds before our practices.
And then this year we started captain's practices in June, and it was a fun way to get to know our team and then also improve. And then throughout the summer we did fun dress-up days and team activities after our runs, like getting ice cream or playing tennis. And then also our home meet was changed to a Saturday this year, October 5th. So the Hudson Marching Band drumline was able to come and play during the races, which brought a lot of positivity and spirit to all the runners. And then after, we also had a family and athlete picnic at the Hudson Middle School, which is a fun event that we hope to continue.
And then we strive for positive team connection. So every Friday we have a team bonding activity after our run that we call Fun Friday. Fun Friday can include a lot of like outdoor activities such as flag football, ultimate frisbee, swimming, a lot of fun activities like that. And then we do these activities to keep a very positive and connected team and to create a very strong environment where everyone feels safe and loved. And then to end Fun Friday, we always drive to spaghetti dinner to celebrate our meet for the following day.
Thank you.
We are the football captains. I'm Evan Holden.
I'm Tyler Lassard.
Dawson Clymer.
Tom Singlin.
Little season summary for us. We had a 7-2 regular season with a tough loss in the first round of the playoffs to DC Everest. 13 all-conference, or 13 of our players made all-conference teams. Just a little highlight.
We started off the season pretty well. We won our first 2 non-conference games, but then kind of went downhill and lost the first 2 conference games. So we were 2-2 to start the season. We ended up bouncing back, and we won the remaining 5 to finish up as the conference runner-ups, which was a pretty good finish to the season. We kept the jug at home. If you don't know what the jug is, it's like a little thing that it's basically just a little brown jug. It's been a rivalry between us and River Falls for a long time, so that's always a good win. We faced a lot of adversity throughout the season, but we grew together and overcame challenges as a team. And overall, we had a very fun year, so thank you.
Hey, I'm Maddie Robinson. I'm the drum major for the Hudson Marching Band. Unfortunately, Sarah Ford, my fellow drum major, could not be here tonight, but I'm here. We had multiple performances this year, like we always do, and one of them being Rhythm by the River, and that is a show that we host here at our own home stadium, so that's pretty cool. And a bunch of bands from all over Wisconsin come and perform there. And I think this year we had 11 other bands perform. We also had a home performance for just the community before we went for state champs because we couldn't find a show to perform then, but we decided to just have one for Hudson once again. We compete exhibition for performances, so we don't place at all, but we believe that's kind of like helps sportsmanship in a way, and it doesn't make us focus on just competing and getting a good score. It makes us focus on what we want as a band and what our goal is, and that's to perform well. And this year we decided to up our game a little bit. We had a tougher show than previous years, and I think the band handled it really, really well. I'm so proud of them and the things that they were able to accomplish this year. And I overall think it was a great season.
We are the boys soccer team captains. I'm Nicky Alanov.
I'm Jackson Olet.
And I'm Henry Vandenbark.
This season we finished 15-3-3, and we knocked off the #1 team in Division II, Cedarburg, in a quad over in Cedarburg, and we also made it to the sectional final.
We were able to come back and beat the conference champions, who were Oakland Memorial. We beat them 2-2, and then finished them off in pens in the sectional semifinal to advance to the sectional final, which we unfortunately lost in a very, very long, hard match. Lost it in the 95th minute, but we all played our hearts out. It was a great time. It was a fine way to end the season. We let up 3 goals in our entire playoff run, both being in the final 2 games of the season. We allowed 7 goals and scored 34 in the conference year, and ended up placing second in conference, which was pretty good for us.
Like Nicky said, we lost in overtime in the sectional final to Green Bay Preble. It was a tough loss, our second one in 2 days or 3 days. And then we had 6 athletes named all conference teams.
Overall, it was a really fun year for the team. Everybody on the team felt like it was more of a family atmosphere this year, and we really bonded with each other and just had a great time.
Okay, we're the girls swim and dive captains. I'm Cecilia Becken.
And I'm Abby McNamara. We also have Jenna Fullerton, but she's unable to be here. Throughout the season, we went undefeated during our regular season. We were conference champions, which is our 3rd time in a row. We had 8 first-team all-conference. We had 5 second-team all-conference and 5 honorable mentions. And we won the Simley invite that had 7 other teams.
And then we placed 3rd at Maroon and Gold with other elite Minnesota teams. So there's 3 sections at that meet, and we were in the middle one. So that's a big deal for us because usually we don't do that well there. And then we were conference meet champions by a margin of 100+ points. And then we placed 2nd at sectionals. And then we have 6 state qualifying swimmers in 3 individual events and 2 relays. And then we have 3 alternates also going to the state meet on Friday.
Through this year, we doubled our size, which is really good. We have like a huge team now. And then we also support each other through hard times. We had like a team word each year, and this year it was united, and we really kept that true by like being there for each other, like in and out of the pool, like high-fiving each other after like a hard set, and like helping each other if anyone was going through a hard time. And through that, we had like a really close-knit team. We had a lot of team bonding experiences. At the beginning of the season, we went to Perch Lake. So we just hung out as a team. And we also, usually we would have a team sleepover, but this year we had a bonfire because the sleepover didn't really work out. But it was a really nice opportunity for us to really become close as a team. And we also had spaghetti dinners at our houses, and that was really nice. We all like hung out for a few hours, which was very fun. And then we always hung out during the bus rides, always just like talked to each other the entire rides to different meets.
Okay, and then one fun thing that the swim team does is we have big littles, so like sorority sisters. So we have like underclassmen paired with upperclassmen, and we just give each other like little gifts and like notes saying like good luck and you're gonna get through the season throughout like all of our different meets. And then we did team bonding, like we called it team time, before practice most days. And we would just ask a question around the circle just to make everyone like liven up. And then we would just, just talk and have time together. That's it.
Girls tennis was not able to make it today. As you see, they had a very successful season. First place undefeated at Menominee tournament, 2nd place at Bayport and Green Bay tournament. So just they had a really good year this year, and 5 academic all-conference winners. So just fantastic.
Okay, so we're the girls varsity volleyball team, and we're the captains, and I'm Hannah Kendhammer.
Paige Prasnicki.
Ellie Burns.
And Jana Jankowski and Addie Leach is also one, but she cannot be here tonight.
So this was our most successful season in program history. We were the conference champions, first time in school history, and also qualified for state, first time in school history, by beating River Falls in sectional finals.
As Hannah said, it's our most successful season of school history. We went 36-3, and one of our losses is to St. Crescentia, who we later beat, I think. 3 times. Three times, 2 weeks later. So, yeah. And then as for River Falls this year, we did beat them 3 times, and we have not beat them in over 10 years. So then we also have 5 players on our all-conference teams. Myself and Ellie Burns were on first team. Addie Leach and Chloe Lockhart were on second team, and Hannah got honorable mention. And a big thing this year with our team is just focusing on like revamping and creating better team culture. So before the season started, all of us captains, we kind of came up with a pyramid for so like of the base of things that we wanted to achieve. Just to like, our first goal was just conference because we've never gotten that. We didn't really think we'd get farther than that. So we wanted to be disciplined, we wanted to be strategic, and we wanted to be in service of each other and selfless. So just thinking about the team the whole time.
We also had the BRC Player of the Year, Ellie Burns, and we placed first at the UW Stouts Brawl for the first time in history again.
And then we also beat River Falls for the first time in 10 years, 3 times actually. And then we also maintained top 10 in the state for coaches poll throughout the whole season.
And we got fifth at state.
They keep saying beating River Falls 3 times. So, and last but not least, girls golf. They finished the season and placed 10th at state. They did win the conference this year as well. And we just want to again thank this community and the board for their continued support of Hudson, athletics activities and for everything. So thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes, Megan.
I just wanted to say you're all so impressive, not just in your athletic achievements, but the way you're talking about building your team and growing community and mentoring the younger students. So thank you for all that you do and for taking time out of your very busy schedules to be here with us tonight.
Great job. Thank you. All right. Yeah. They got homework to do. All right. Next up, we have another recognition, and Dave, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's, as you know, we have a lot of wonderful teachers in the Hudson School District, and it's always great to recognize them. I'm on. Yeah. Are they knocking on the door?
Okay.
Oh, it's not harder. It's not.
So you might have to switch mics if that was not working.
There we go.
We good there?
Okay.
Well, apparently not.
Okay.
We'll try one more. Can you hear me now? He's giving me the no.
I know mine works.
Yeah, we do too. I'll step over here. You're right. Yeah. Got the Bob Barker mic, yep. So as I said, we have a lot of wonderful teachers in the Hudson School District, and it's always great to recognize their accomplishments, especially so when they're recognized at the state level. And tonight we have Brett Weinfurter being recognized as Marketing Teacher of the Year, recognized by the Wisconsin Marketing Educators Association. So very proud of Brett. I'm going to turn over to Mike to share a few words.
Yeah, and before we even dive into the particular award, I just wanted to give the board a little bit of a snapshot of how things have gone in Brett's first 3 years with us, because he truly has made a significant impact on our business department. In his first year, he grabbed hold as advisor of DECA and not only increased the numbers, but also the success that we saw in that program. And last year sent 24 students that were state qualifiers out of DECA in just a couple of years' time. In his second year, Brett was agreeable to creating a service management and operations class that ended up resulting in what we currently call the Common Grounds, and helped build the entire curriculum, worked correspondingly with Carrie Henson, the school store, and has built that into something that has been extremely successful. So really, it shouldn't come any surprise to us that in his third year, he becomes recognized at the state level by his peers as the business marketing teacher of the year in the entire state of Wisconsin. So I just wanted to say congratulations, Brett. You've been a great addition to Hudson High School. And we really appreciate all your work. All right, thank you.
Go ahead. No, I think all the mics on that side probably are not working. Here.
I just wanted to say that is what an honor. That's so exciting. Can
Yeah.
you talk to us about like what your magic is that's working so well with kids that we can
It definitely
replicate?
It definitely starts with surrounding yourself with good coworkers. I have 3 other business teachers, and this is an award for me, but it's really an award for all of us. My colleagues from around the state recognize what we're doing and the growth in the program, and I think really just giving the kids the resources to succeed, believing in them, I think is huge, and just kind of setting them up for success, preparing them for what they're going into, whether it's DECA, whether it's the school store, but just kind of believing in them. Some of them just need that little push and that little twist of the arm to step outside their comfort zone. So definitely just believing in them.
All right. So thank you for your efforts and congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, hopefully you can have 2 or 3 of those a year, Teacher of the Year. That would be great. But, all right, Dave, you get to come up.
Yep. So now we get to recognize a large portion of Hudson High School, and really this is a celebration of our 4K through 12 because we don't have students that enter AP classes without a lot of support through all of their education. So proud to recognize Hudson High School as a Level 1 AP Pacesetter recipient. What that means is that 30% of all high school students took at least one AP class, and of those, 70% earned a 3 or higher. There are only 20 districts in the state of Wisconsin that reach this level, so we're very proud. I'm going to turn over to Mike to share a few words.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a special thank you to really, like Dave said, it's really a K-12 honor, right? Like this takes an entire community and many years, but particularly for those teachers that are invested into the success of the students that are in those AP courses, it is a grind. They're very, very rigorous. Our teachers, those AP teachers in particular, go out of the way to make themselves available, spend a lot of extra time, and to be able to see the fruits of the work, both from the students and the staff, kind of come to fruition and be recognized as one of the top 20 districts in the state in terms of in that particular regard is really, really a lot to be proud of. And so I just want to say thanks to those teachers.
Well, and Mike, thank you for your efforts and leadership. Dave, same to you. And I agree that you're sharing that success with everyone in the district is appropriate. Yeah. But I just want to emphasize that you look at the names of the other districts up there, and these are districts that are also recognized as some of the top ones in the state. And that's the way that I view Hudson. I just think, when we can provide advanced placement, it just further supports the mission that we're on, is to get kids ready, whether it's for college or for careers. We want to be able to provide that option for going above and beyond just even the ordinary classes that still are excellent. Yeah. But, getting that advanced placement gets kids immersed in the subject areas. And, we see some of these kids taking 4 or 5 advanced placement courses in a year, which is amazing. But, all right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Let's take a quick break.
Okay. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. And we're going to fix our technology here, so, and hopefully we can get the microphones working.
Test, test. Oh.
Here, watch out.
Test, test, test.
Testing, testing.
You already worked, James.
Yeah, I know, I just didn't want it to flip the other way. Oh, you guys
Hello?
work, and then
Hello?
I walk over there.
He wants to make sure nobody silences him. Yeah.
Test, test.
How about all the way down on the end? Does that work?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right. Back up and
Test,
running. So
test.
now, next up on our agenda
No.
is citizens' request to speak about non-action items, and we have Liz Malanafi talking about sustainability.
Hi, everybody. I'm Liz Malanafi. I've had 5 kids go through this district and worked for the district for 10 years, and it's an awesome district. I want to say Happy Veterans Day, and thank you to any of you who've served. And I also want to say thank you for the work you've done on this, on the referendum. And I know that was a tough result, but I'm here to say that sustainability is really the secret weapon when it comes to saving money. So I don't know if you guys have heard of the Inflation Reduction Act. It's the largest investment in clean energy in the history of our country, and I think even in the world, actually. But I'm going to pass these out. You can just pass them around. So I've been doing some work with an organization called Forward Together Wisconsin. I've been all over the state in different districts looking at what they're doing with this Inflation Reduction Act money, looking at the green energy that these districts are using in their own districts. And really, Wisconsin is a leader in not only the school aspect of this, but when it comes to homeowners and how they rolled it out with homeowners in that aspect of it too. So Inflation Reduction Act funding is, for homeowners, it's a tax credit, but for school districts, nonprofits, churches, it's called direct pay or elective pay. So we are eligible for it too, which is really unique. It's one of the first programs of its kind that actually does that. And across the state, I've seen our state's first net zero school. I've seen districts that Baraboo is saving, I think, $44,000 annually because they put in a solar array. Palmyra has electric school buses, which actually are charged at night, run the kids to and from school, and then plug back into the grid to feed the energy back to the grid between 5 and 8 o'clock, and then charge in the evening. So it's little small projects. It's really big projects. It's heat pumps. It's solar. You can see the QR code on there that has more information. So it's kind of a little bit of everything, and I think in the position that we're in, and especially because I know construction today was in full swing at EP Rock, there may very well be, and I also know EP Rock has a boiler that's like 100 years old. There may very well be some funding here for us in what we're doing. So I just want to make sure you guys all knew about that. I think that's one of the things about the IRA that's difficult, is people don't know about it. Homeowners don't know about it, districts don't know about it, churches don't know about it. So we're going to try to have a convening up here in this area, and we'll have all the school districts invite the districts and the churches and nonprofits too. And then all of that said, another cool thing that I've seen is in talking to these people about the IRA, I've seen districts that are really beginning to employ sustainability directors. And I think in the Oregon School District or Middleton Cross Plains, there's actually a sustainability director who serves the same purpose for the city. So it's kind of a dual role, which makes a great deal of sense to me. I think there's a lot of collaboration that could happen between the city and the district when it comes to sustainability, and there are huge savings when it comes to having somebody on board who knows what they're doing. So that's why I was here tonight. And any questions, anybody? Yeah, you're welcome. Yes, and you have my email. If you have any questions, we're part of a coalition, so if you have questions, there are a multitude of people who can answer those questions for you. So,
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing this to our attention. Next up under reports, construction update. That would be Dr. Owlett.
Yes, thanks, Jamie. What you can see in the current week is just the construction update provided by Market and Johnson. So North Hudson Elementary is really moving along. I think if you go down to some of the pictures, you can kind of see the back area, the additional gym boxes and media center is coming out of the ground and starting to take shape. We're going to start to see some roofs in place here in about another week or so. They're going to start, covering it up, and the goal is obviously before the weather gets too bad that they'll get it enclosed and ready to go. Inside the building, classrooms are moving along. There's been work underground and some of the stuff you can see there. They cut the floor out and patched it back in. Painting is going to start back up here before too long, along with some of the renovations. Our goal is the week before we leave for winter break, it'll be turned back over to, those 5 classrooms turned back over to the district. Teachers will move into those classrooms. They'll take the next 5 as well. In addition to North Hudson, EP Rock is, Liz said, started today, about a month ahead of schedule. And so EP Rock is in full swing with renovations to that building. They already did utility work at EP Rock a couple weeks ago. And so it is moving along. The middle school will start about December 2nd and get that up and running and moving forward. So we're on track. So far, so good. Knock on wood. We're on budget. We're on schedule. So we'll just continue to kind of keep the board updated with what's going on. About either, every other month or so, we'll have the construction managers, architects come in, talk with the board, answer any questions. And then also set up some board tours of the sites once they've actually seen some changes and things along those lines. So, questions for me?
Any questions for Nick? All right. Thanks, Nick, for the update.
Yep.
Then next up, Teacher Advisory Committee update.
Okay, well, we had a teacher advisory committee meeting a few weeks ago, and Molly Powers was also able to attend, so she can certainly pipe in with any commentary as well. I think it was a revamped committee in terms of a lot of different people at the table. We expanded it with a few more people as well. The discussion was really, in my opinion, I thought it was really great, vibrant discussion, which is exactly the type of conversation we want to be having with their, oops, am I done? Sorry.
Now I got an idea for future meetings.
It was kind of quick so far, but.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we had about 13 different topics that we talked about at the committee. Everything from the referendum that was upcoming at the time, to construction, to the rate of compensation system. Then teachers are also able to add topics to the agenda, and so I work with my co-chair, Rachel Miller, collaboratively to develop the agenda. And we have another meeting scheduled for a couple months, and it was a great meeting. I don't know, Molly, if you have anything else that you want to add?
I think you covered it. It's always great to hear from teachers from the horse's mouth, so to say, and I always appreciate their collegiality with each other, no matter what their job is and what area they teach, and how much they support each other and are interested in each other and what they're doing. They're great staff.
I did think a nice thing that was kind of a twist this time is that there was a specific change in tone a little bit, where it was a recognition of different perspectives more so than in the past, where everybody really seemed to pause and think about their perspective compared to others and validating each other, which, gosh, that was fun to hear those different perspectives.
And what kind of turnover did we have compared to last year's committee?
Well, we have term limits now, and so we had a couple people that just naturally fell off, and then if you change positions that aren't, like instructional coach typically isn't part of our TAC, and so we just added a couple through that. So we had a group of teachers that just naturally fell off per the term limits, which has been an interesting change too, in that we do have different people on the committee every year, which I think makes it a little bit more new and fresh. And yeah, a wide variety. We're very purposeful in the selection, working with, again, Rachel in looking at the applicants who want to be on the committee to make sure we have representatives from all the different content areas, the specialists, the special ed. We added an OT as well. So really trying to have a good cross-section of our staff.
Excellent. Great report. Thank you. Next up, we go to the action items. And first up is the consent agenda, and I'll entertain a motion pursuant to, with the spending pursuant to the language on the board.
Mr. President,
Molly.
I move approval of the consent items and that the Chief Financial and Operations Officer be authorized to pay bills in the amount of $1,806,176.34.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, a second. Does not allow for a discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And we have retirements.
We do. I am ready. So it's that time of year, right? And we will have, I'm sure, another batch next month. But the first up is Marcy Cryer. She's a speech and language pathologist, North Hudson. She's been 17 years in the Hudson School District. Then we have Maren Coulter. She's a second grade teacher in North Hudson, 20 years in the district. Jennifer Schwalbach, a fifth grade teacher at North Hudson, and she's also been in the school district for 20 years. We have Patrice Denning, first grade teacher at Rivercrest, 21 years of service to the district. And then Michelle Hagan, she's school age care coordinator, 33 years of service to the district. So certainly I look forward to recognizing them this spring and having lots of fun with them at the upcoming banquet.
All right, great. Thank you to them and for their service. We'll be able to give bigger thanks at the staff recognition towards the end of the year. But all right, thank you for that. Next up, we have the school calendar. Dave.
Yes, thank you very much. So we talked about the school calendar during our work session a few weeks ago. A few minor changes from that presentation based on the feedback from the board. Just a rundown of the key points in this calendar. First day of the 25-26 school year would be Tuesday, August 26th. That allows for those 4 days of flexible use of some summer school rules for us. We have graduation set for Friday, May 22nd. And that is the Friday before Memorial Day. One of the changes we put into this calendar is that'll be a PD day, which will allow for a lot of flexibility to prep for both graduation and for the senior all-night party for Hudson Safe. So we think that will work out really, really well. Last day with kids would be Tuesday, June 2nd, and teacher checkout day on Wednesday, June 3rd. Spring break, March 16th through the 20th, and January 2nd, we're going to operate as a floating PD day, meaning we're going to have some flexible PD that takes place for a couple of weeks prior to winter break and a couple of weeks after, which will allow staff and families to have that full 2 weeks off. It's cyclical. This just lands, it makes the most sense when Christmas lands when it does. So we make those changes accordingly when they make the most sense. One of the changes that we made from the last iteration that you saw was, if you remember, we have K-Start. K-Start is when kindergarten teachers work for the first few days meeting with families individually for about an hour per family. It's a great program, runs very well, with great feedback both from families and from staff. On the last iteration of the calendar, it landed in such a way that there was only one day, the first day of kindergarten be a one-day work week or one-day school week for kindergartners. What we decided to do based on feedback from the board was move that back to 2 days for K-Start, but then allow some flexibility for those kindergarten teachers that have larger classes. We'll find some time for them to still have their K-Start meetings and compensate them for that time. Short of that, everything is as presented in the past.
And then I know we have an issue sometimes with the way the color translates because we have all these different color codings and, but yellow, I know that, for instance, green is no school, gray was no school. But that's also true of the yellow, which is the professional development. There's no school those days.
Correct, yep, that's just for professional learning for certified staff.
Right. So this still maintains, and then spring break, I know sometimes it floats, but it's the third week in March.
Third week in March, correct.
All right. So not much change, but just took some feedback that we had from the work session. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the school calendar for the 25-26 school year as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the school calendar for 25-26 is approved, and hopefully we won't be back looking to change anything. We've got now graduation pretty much set now. It's going to be that Friday before Memorial Day, and try to have that every year.
Correct. That's the goal.
All right. Next up then, we have, should be the 4K contract terms and conditions. That's also Dave.
Yep, thank you very much. So a 4K contract, I want to provide some background. We talked about this quite a bit at the work session, but as you know, we have a community-based 4K program. What that means is we partner with local private providers to offer our 4K programming. So for those 2 hours approximately, essentially we have public school taking place in private, either private providers, childcare providers, and sometimes also in our parochial schools. And we've had a various number of partners through the year, and it's sort of, or through the years, it's settled down now, and we have some pretty consistent, really good partnerships. Our community partners do a great job. They are completely willing to dig in, roll up their sleeves, learn about our new curriculum and new initiatives, and we really value what they bring to the table. We have in this contract a few things we wanted to clean up, and then a relatively significant change as well. So first, some of the cleanup. One of the things that we've run into in the past is when a student enters a 4K program, not at the beginning of the year, how do we make that work with everyone? So part of this program, the way the finance works, when a community partner joins us, they agree to be reimbursed for the students that they serve in the 4K program. The problem is sometimes students would join partway through the year. So we wanted to clean that up and make sure that as soon as a student is essentially in for a full month, their reimbursement begins right away, so there's no lag. So that's one of the changes. Another change we made was just to the registration process. Registration in our 4K community program is somewhat convoluted because they have to register at the site, they have to enroll and register as a Hudson School District student. And it's also their first foray into the Hudson School District. So there's a lot to it. It gets confusing. So we wanted to clarify in the contract that we consider these students 4K students when they're both enrolled and registered at the site and enrolled and registered in the Hudson School District. And we'll continue to make sure that's communicated well to all the participants. Sometimes we have situations where families assume they've registered and they're all set, but they've only registered either at the site or at the school. So we just wanted to clean that up. Now for the more significant change. When we provide 4K programming, by law, we have to provide transportation. It has to be available to all students. In the past, we've offered transportation at all of our sites. Now, some sites have opted not to participate in the transportation programming, mainly for the flexibility, so they can offer their own schedule. Just opens up some options for them. But also then, obviously, it creates a situation where if there's a student that needs transportation, we have to find a different spot for them. So we ran some numbers, and we realized that the way we're reimbursing for 4K programming, it has always been $3,200 per year per student, paid on a monthly basis. And everyone got that same amount. The issue is when we provide transportation for 4K students, it's very costly compared to transportation for the rest of the students. So it's about $2,200 plus per 4K student per year for transportation. And it's about $600 plus for a non-4K student. So when we offer that transportation, it adds a lot of expense to the school district. Obviously, we need to be responsive to the needs of our taxpayers, so when we're looking at the finances, that's our first interest. So what we're proposing in this contract is that for sites that accept transportation, the reimbursement would be $2,200, so $1,000 per year less than if they did not accept transportation. obviously that impacts them. So this is something we met with the 4K providers. They had some really good questions. They had some concerns, obviously, and they have some thinking to do if this is ultimately approved. But they had very good questions and some good dialogue, and like I said, some concerns. But I wanted to share some numbers with you so you understand the potential impact. So I ran numbers looking at all the sites that accept transportation and then the number of students that are currently receiving transportation. So the way this shakes out, we have currently 318 total 4K students. Of those, 196 attend private providers. So actually the majority of our 4K students attend private providers. Of that though, we only have 34 that are receiving transportation. The way this works is because we have to provide transportation to the site, the cost is fixed, essentially. Now, fixed for that site. We have to transport to relatively large geographic regions. So of those 196 students, 162 are at sites that accept transportation, meaning with this change at $1,000 per student per year, it'd be a savings up to $162,000 annually to the school district if we would make this change. Now, that's a potential savings. It honestly would not be realized in its totality because not all sites would make this change. They have decisions to make. But if everyone said, okay, you know what, we're going to accept that lower rate and the same number of students, it would equate to about $162,000 annually. If the savings were applied just per student, which we are not recommending because it becomes very problematic and it would be, well, there's 34 students, be a $34,000 savings. If we just said reimbursement for a child that receives transportation is at a different rate. The issue with that is that would actually increase the cost for transportation potentially for others because of the inefficiencies. One of the things that's important to understand when we talk about 4K transportation that's very unique, it's doorstop to doorstop, meaning the bus goes right to the end of the driveway, family lets the child on, and they go. So that creates inefficiencies, but important inefficiencies. The other thing that's important to understand is that there are a lot of single minibus routes. And then thirdly, what adds to the cost and the inefficiencies is that it's the only midday route. So we obviously have transportation AM and PM beginning and end of day, but not in the middle of the day. So a lot of added expense that goes into that. So the proposal would, as I said, would have the annual reimbursement at $2,200 per student if the site elects to accept transportation. Typically, we ask for contracts back by December 11th. We let the providers know that if they need an extension, just reach out and we can offer that extension because some of them have to go through a few different channels to make decisions like this. So with that, I'll open up to questions to the board.
Questions from board members? Megan?
Less of a question, but more, I thank you for sharing the numbers and doing the analysis. And I think this makes a lot of sense. It's expensive, so I think we have to take that into account. And it's great to hear you met with the providers and talked with them about it.
All right, so you're looking for a motion to approve?
Yes.
All right. So we have had this program and site agreement. It's been redlined and.
Correct, yeah. So the only changes were the registration process and then it's all in that last addendum to the contract, the registration changes and the compensation or reimbursement. The rest of the language is consistent.
Yeah.
Mr. President, move to
Yes.
approve.
Second?
All right, motion by Lynn, second by Kate. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Technically, it's a blue lined because there's some blue wording there, but yeah. All right. Then next up, just an update on the UU property. I don't know if we need board action.
Nope, doesn't take any board action. Just want to make sure the public's aware and the board, everybody's aware that the buyers for the UU property have asked to exercise their second 90-day offer extension, which is all part of the contract, which you guys approved already. And so that has been executed. for 90 days. And remember that the contract is contingent upon annexation into the city of Hudson. And so they're still working on that process and what that looks like. But just wanted to make sure everybody's aware, because sometimes people say, well, what's the story with the UU property, and why does the sign still say contract pending? And that's why, because we have not closed on that property yet, because we're still working through that last contingency, which is annexation into the city of Hudson.
So what would be the timing of the closing if, or when annexation is approved?
Well, a couple things could happen. One, they could remove the contingency at any time and just close on the property, in which case they could do that. Or, the city of Hudson, they have their own process and waiting periods and announcements and things like that. So it may not be that they can get this all done in 90 days, but the thing is if they can't get this done in an additional 90 days, I believe they'll have to come back and make a new proposal to the board for any additional extensions, because the original agreement only granted up to 2 90-day extensions from the original 6-month contract.
But, yeah, so we've seen already the original plan for annexation has been slightly altered. So they're continuing to work. I know they're diligently working on it, but
Yep.
just wanted to confirm that if we get close, we could have to do either a whole new agreement or just do a slight extension if we've made substantial progress towards the annexation. So,
Yep.
Mr. President?
Yes,
Do
Lynn.
you think we could get an update from Derek on kind of where they're at and what next steps are?
Yes, and I think what we could do is we could have them come to the, maybe the December regular meeting, so that it's public and people
Yeah, I
can
think
see
that'd be great.
where they're at and what that process is.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Great request, Lynn. Good idea. All right, anything further on that? Otherwise, the last remaining item on the action is referendum results and next steps.
Yeah, so as you can see, Tim has up on the screen the vote totals for the referendum results, and it was an extremely high voter turnout, I think the highest we've had on record. But as somebody said earlier, it was not the outcome we were hoping for, which was to pass that referendum. So that brings us kind of to where we're at. So just to give a little bit of perspective, and I think, Tim, do I have the ability to share? Chromecast, whatever the one the Chromecast is. The 2? So what I have up on the screen here is I just did an unofficial tally of the results. You can kind of see how the votes broke down. Let me see if I can kind of make this a little bit bigger so you can see what's going on. The top line is yes votes by the different wards. The bottom line is the no votes, and what I just basically did is try to put it into percentages and how we did in each of the different wards across the city of Hudson, you can see. And then as you come through the city total, so in the city of Hudson, technically it passed in the city of Hudson 52 to 48% roughly. When you go into the village of North Hudson, it was kind of the exact opposite there. I don't know why we got blurry. Hopefully it comes back up here pretty quick. It was similar, but just the opposite. Then when you get into the town of Hudson, you can see there was a distinct difference. Only 43% yes, about 57% no. Town of St. Joe tended to be the most challenging area, which is about 40.5% yes, and about 59.5% no. Town of Troy was very similar to the town of Hudson, but in all, we were running about 47.25 yes to 52.75 no. It was a difference of a roughly 1,128 votes. And again, the final vote total is, what Tim was working on earlier along with Kate to certify that, but these are just preliminarily off the county's website. You ask, how does that compare? Well, if you look at in the last election, in '23. We did, I don't know if I can get it, I can't get it all on one screen. We did better at the city of Hudson. We did roughly the same, the village of North Hudson, percentage-wise. We did roughly a little bit better in the town of Hudson. We did worse in the town of St. Joe. We did better in the town of Troy, and overall, we were about a half a point better on the yes totals. But as you can see, there were only 11,000 votes that were cast in spring of '23 compared to the roughly 20,500 votes that were cast in the fall of '24. So where that leaves us is, what the board would like to do is next steps, and I guess I would open it up to any questions, conversations, or direction.
Molly?
Mr. President, thank you. I think we need to, move forward with putting this on the April ballot with the same amount. I think maybe we'll have a better chance, and I think we need to start making a list of things of what we're going to start doing, what are our plans, what our cuts will be, and start putting those into reality. Because it's a disappointing vote, but it feels a little disconnected, like people don't really believe that this will happen. So I think we need to move forward as if we are not going to pass it in the spring. Just with those thoughts in mind.
Yes, Kate.
I feel differently. I think that our community has spoken not once but twice, saying no. I think we need to have Bonnie and Nick put together something that would show us what these cuts would look like so that we can present that to the public and put it into action. I think people need to, I talked earlier with Nick, sometimes we make everything work, and so that's what everybody sees. And at this point in time, they've told us no, and I value their input. And I think we need to put a budget together that displays what that looks like for people and put it into action.
Okay. Lynn?
Mr. President, I feel like we have more, well, I would agree with Molly. I do think it needs to go on the spring ballot, but I think we need to do a lot more work to communicate what the dollars were. And we need to engage an active group of people who are going to, like our previous referendum, where they are getting involved in getting that word out, and it's not just the Board of Education, and it's not just the administration, it's people who are engaged in the community and engaged in the success of our schools and the success of our community.
Mr. President?
Megan?
Yeah, I'm thankful for everything other board members have said. I do think there is some level of disconnect and sort of like what Kate was saying. The district's been able to pull a rabbit out of a hat, which is, you've found ways to make cuts that have not negatively impacted the quality of the educational offerings, the extracurriculars that our students have, the class sizes, but there's not that much left to cut. And as we've seen, 4 years out, we're looking at 8 million. Like, we can't keep putting off the reality of what these cuts would look like. I don't want it to seem retaliatory, but I think we need to start playing it as if it won't pass. But I would like to put something on the April ballot. I just wonder, how could we hold something that maybe builds on last April's community meeting, like more community meetings? You guys tried. People didn't show up, right? And I think it was a really busy election. There was a lot on the ballot. But maybe if we started to have more meetings showing like, okay, we're going to have a listening session. We're going to talk at the high school about what this could look like at the high school, what this could look like at the grade school, what this could look like at the middle school, so people understand what could happen if we don't pass it. It's not retaliatory because it didn't pass, but it's just the reality of we have to have a balanced budget. And I I've seen, you know, you read about it, other school districts that push it off until all of a sudden you have a huge cut, and it's so dramatic. So we have to deal with it one way or another.
Mr. President.
Bob?
I think there's, many ways you could look at the results of why this referendum failed, and I will entertain all of them. But I think you have to look at. I don't think it's a matter of money necessarily, because it was even, turned out to be less than what we told people would be. Instead of $4 to $10 or $4 to $20, in an average home, it would be $1 to $10. So. I do think we need to go ahead, because we can't, we've talked about, we don't, it's not our goal to cut programming. It's not our goal to increase class sizes. And I think Megan's right. We have done really well at cuts and trying to plan for this as best we can. But I think we're at the point where it's going to hurt. And I think it's going to upset parents and families as what we deliver to them changes. And there's just a lot to look at here. And again, I don't want to be, you said retaliatory, or say, well, we warned you, but we 3 years ago, there were some big changes we were talking about, and we haven't, if that first referendum failed, we're like, this is what could happen. We didn't follow through with what we said might have to happen, because we've been successful at, or the administration and been successful as making this work. But I think we're at the point now where you have to go back. And yes, we do have to let people know that these are the cuts that are going to happen. These are what you're going to see. And I don't think our community is going to support losing teachers to lower salaries or salary freezes. I don't think they're going to want to see more kids per teacher in the classroom. I don't believe that. So I think we're close. It just has to happen the right way, or another effort. I don't know what else to say.
Well, I'm hearing a lot of consensus and similar comments, and I would, I kind of echo what Kate has said and Molly, as far as starting to voice what the cuts might look like. We opted not to do that because we didn't want to come across as being, the sky is falling and, there's going to be these draconian cuts, and make it sound so threatening. That was a conscious choice, that we were not going to go through that exercise. But there's some risk in doing that, and that is people may not take it seriously. I think we did have, to quote the movie Cool Hand Luke, a failure to communicate. Not that our efforts, were wrong, or, we were trying to put as accurate information out there. It's just the message got drowned out, I think, with all the partisan stuff that was going on with the national election and everything. And the biggest comment when I would ask people, what'd you think of the referendum? They go, I honestly didn't even know it was going to be on the ballot. Now, it'd be one thing if they were parents or employees of the district, because then they definitely should have known it was, because if they're looking at their newsletters and so forth, they're seeing it. But if you're one of the 70% of the community who only sees a quarterly newsletter come out from the school district, in a mass mailer, they may not make it a priority to read it. And so I think what we need is to double down. Last time we had a referendum that failed on a larger scale was in a November election, as I recall, was November of 14, when we looked to, buy a site south of the dog track and build a new 3-year high school. And after that failed, within weeks after that, we came up with an idea of the PST committee. And I think we need to do something similar to that. It doesn't have to be as long, though, I don't think. But whether it's 2 to 3 meetings over the next course of the next couple months, I think that would be good. Draw people from the community. I definitely agree with Lynn that we need other people besides the district talking about this. I don't think it's a matter of us necessarily losing trust or having poor communication. It's just kind of a perfect storm of the, of the timing. And you know, we've been making the cuts, making it work. We've opted to go to the community to see what they thought about raising this cap, with confidence that they would trust us when we needed it. We haven't needed it yet, but I don't think we'd be being good stewards if we wait until we're way in the red before we go back to the community. So I do think we need to go back. We get to have one referendum each calendar year. If we don't do it in April of '25, then it would be April of '26 before we could do it again. And then we'd be 2 years into a budgeting process where we definitely would be in red ink at that point. So I think the other thing we need to look at and think about is whether we make it non-reoccurring. To me, we changed the amount. We went from 8 million plus to 5 million after we got a survey result. Nick's got it up on the board, the post-referendum survey results we had, because in that survey, supposedly, the community said we'd support it if it was 5.2 million or less. And it was less, and it didn't get supported. So I think that we have to think about the only other variable we can change is making it non-reoccurring. That seemed to be the hesitation the first time as well as the second, was people didn't like this being reoccurring every year forever. They start doing the math, 5 million times infinite is what? So if we think about a 6 or 7 year window for this, then people can do the math and say, okay, you know, this will get us by for a while and then allow us to assess where it's at. We'll probably have to come back within that 6 years, but I don't want us in a situation where we're getting behind the 8 ball and then having to do this every 2-3 years with non-reoccurring. But I think something that would be sufficient enough, go out far enough to cover the near future and then see what happens. But yeah.
I would say that, yes, we maybe should have looked at a longer sunset of non-recurring as an option, because I did hear from some people that saying, well, that gives you the money forever. Now, I mean, from a financial standpoint, I am nowhere near skilled as a financial advisor. It is bad practice to take out a non-recurring for your budget. Is that correct? And you can speak on that, Nick or Bonnie or whoever would like to. I think we need to explain that to the public as well.
Yeah, I mean, these are reoccurring expenses. So if you go for a non-reoccurring, 6, 7, 10, 15, however long you want to do it, just know that more than likely you're going to have to come back and ask for that again, plus any additional is you know, because the amount is a fixed amount, you know, per year. It doesn't go up. And as you saw in the 5-year budget projections, we start getting out to year 4 and 5. The deficits aren't 5 million; they're more like 6, 7, 8 million dollars out there. So even with the $5 million referendum, we still have to cut the budget. I mean, it's not this is gonna fix it long term.
And I also heard out there that there seems to be somewhat of this hope that it's going to get fixed at the state and federal level. And I would say, what evidence have we seen at all that is even a possibility? In fact, might get worse in the next biennium, right? If
there's a lawsuit that gets to the Supreme Court. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we don't quite know. I can tell you right now that, you know, our budget's built on, you know, current law, which is there's a $325 increase per pupil every year, moving forward, at least for the next 401 years. That has been challenged, and it does look like, you know, that's going to make it to the Supreme Court. There's a high probability that veto could get overridden by the Supreme Court. And if that is the case and we lose that 325, it creates about another $1.5 million hole in our budget, because you figure about 5,000 students times the $325 a kid, you know, it really creates some challenges. As far as waiting for the legislature to help us out here, you gotta remember, they have been sitting on more money than they've ever sat on. They have a fully funded rainy day account with over $2 billion in it, and then an additional $4 billion. And we still didn't get much for revenues in the last biennium. We didn't get made whole after they gave us 0% for 2 years in 2021, 22. And so I would say that holding out hope for the legislature to fix this issue I wouldn't wait too long on that. But it is a continued challenge for us.
Mr. President?
Yes, Megan.
You know, I think I'm not going to hold my breath for Madison to fix this problem, but I would like to see us engage a little bit more with our elected representatives. I would like us to see if, you know, some of us are interested in going to the WASB lobbying day. You know, Representative Zimmerman comes here and talks with us, which is fantastic, but maybe if we put in more effort, you know, showing that we're poking at Madison more. But I think people don't translate well what that 5 million means to what it means for them. I think there's so, like you said, there was so much information this election cycle, and you know, I'm on the board and I'm a parent, but like, you're just trying to balance everything in life to get those numbers to sink in when you go vote, when you're trying to remember everything you want to for a ballot. So how do we, I think having a committee, and I'm interested in hearing more what this PST committee was, because I wasn't around then.
Okay. Yeah. Dave and I can fill you in.
Okay.
But basically, it was, we had a couple members of administration, a couple of school board members, and then 4 people from the community. Trying to remember, I don't think any of which had children in the district at the time they were on the committee. So, but what it was just proactively going out, finding stakeholders and touching base with them. And ultimately, we ended up putting kits out, you know, literally pencils and folders with information so that the community could read the stuff and say, okay, this is what the priorities ought to be for our district. At the end of that process, and then we had a big red dot, green dot exercise that was in the infamous meeting that went, was it 6.5 hours long, went past midnight. But we ended up coming up with narrowing 21 options down to 3. And then from those 3, we ultimately decided to remodel the high school instead of build a brand new facility, and ended up being the thing that got the support of the community. Now, that was a 6-month-long process. We had 36 meetings over that 6 months. So I don't think, we don't have that kind of time. And we don't have that kind of division. That was the other thing. There was a lot of division in the community at the time. And so I would say the first half, good 3 to 4 months of that process was just rebuilding the trust with the community. So I think, you know, we had support. We delivered when it came to, you know, the secondary space options and the remodels, the add-ons that we did. And it ended up costing slightly less than what we said it was going to cost. We even didn't take out $500,000, but the community kind of forgot, you know, what that part was, and they're always looking forward. And again, I think part of it is that reoccurring in that infinite time span of the money. But another good point is how does that translate into what would be the cuts? All we mentioned is if we don't get this money, there would be cuts, but we never identified. So I think that piece needs to be fleshed out. And it can be done by this committee again, so that it's just not us coming forward with this.
Nick, what would the time frame be for when we would have to announce acceptance of or moving forward in the referendum?
So if you want to run an April referendum, I think the cutoff date is January 25th, 27th, somewhere in the, what is it? 21st, because, yeah, I guess we're on April 1st for the election this year. So, yeah, January 21st would be the cutoff date for in April election. We'd have to make a decision by then.
Mr. President?
Yes, Megan.
Yeah, I think it is important to consider a non-reoccurring, but it scares me a lot, because then if, you know, 7 or 10 years later, whatever it is, all of a sudden you have this huge hole in the budget. It makes me very, very nervous. You know, you see the districts that used the federal COVID funds to pay for ongoing expenses, and then all of a sudden they had to make a whole bunch of cuts. So I worry about what position we put ourselves in. Then again, it's probably better to get a non-reoccurring approved than nothing and make cuts now, so this is not fun.
Yeah.
Mr. President,
Yes, Molly.
I am not in favor of doing a non-recurring. You're just going to kick the can down the road. I mean, it's a pointless exercise, I think, in some respects. It's like we should have enough trust that, you know, if we get 5 million, like we did 20 years ago with the 1 million for technology and curriculum, I believe it took 20 years to use it, that we are still going to move ahead with economizing. We should absolutely move ahead with all due speed and transparency with economizing and cuts. But we already know that we're falling behind in first-year teacher salaries. So I am not in favor of cutting there. There's just so many things involved in it, but you do not set a budget based on a maybe.
Okay. Kate, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wondered, we've all talked about what does the budget look like without any additional funds. So I wondered, I mean, January 21st is coming right up. So is there a time frame that we could look at having that?
Yeah, I mean, we can start to put together some different options. You know, we have some assumptions we're going to have to make because we'd be moving into the next biennium budget. And so you would just have to bear with us in the fact that, okay, it would be built on certain assumptions. And so then taking those assumptions into place, then I think what we can do is we could provide the board with different options if the goal is to get to a balanced budget for the 25-26 school year, and what are the different things. I know in our most recent projections, we were thinking we were going to be about a $2.6 million deficit next year. So we can, again, provide the board with a variety of different options to be able to select from to get down to a balanced budget, or the board may say, we want to get to half of that, and the other half we'll take from fund balance or whatever you want to do. But we can definitely put together some options and have those. I would think by the December work session, we could have some options. We've already started to have some conversations, across the district as to if we had to make some adjustments, what would that look like in people's departments, and some recommendations that way. And then it's just a matter of where are your preferences?
Mr. President, and then is there, a way to, we have all the people who came to the community meeting, if we have a committee to call, reach out to a wider list of people and say, hey, we're going to have this meeting or a few meetings to talk about what things are going to look like if we don't pass something. I think those won't be fun meetings, but I think we need to be in more places in community where people show up, or like, are we posting up in a coffee shop on a Saturday morning and saying people can come by and talk to us, or at the library where people can come with their kids? Let me know where I can be to talk to people, and I will go there. But we got to get the word out more somehow. And the district tried so hard, but how do you cut through the noise of everything else that people are dealing with? It's very difficult.
I wish we could change how the question's written.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I wish we could change how the question is written, because I think the way it's written, it's kind of scary,
Which question?
On the ballot.
Okay. Any suggestions? I mean, it's something we can definitely ask our bond counsel if you have some.
I'm pretty sure we're following the letter of the law, but I mean, it'd be great to say, and it's only going to cost you $5.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the piece we're not able to put on the ballot. I will say, the one thing I will just give some level of caution to the board on is when you start throwing out their potential cuts, it will create a level of anxiety amongst staff, even if there are things that you're not going to cut. And so I just want to make sure people are aware of that. Part of the reason we have been somewhat ambiguous to this is because until we're ready to get to the point of, yes, we got to go down this path, it does create some it's going to create some real angst amongst staff. Just as a, keep that at the forefront of the thought process, because we also don't want a mass exodus of our staff to say, you know, hey, we're going to go work in a different community where it's, you know, we feel like there's going to be funding or things along those lines. So it's trying to find that balance between creating a sense of urgency, but not creating a doom and gloom that all of a sudden staff starts to say, I don't want to be here.
Well, is it something that we can talk about at the work session in November instead of, you know, waiting till the third Monday in December?
Yeah, I mean, we can start with, I can't guarantee we're going to have every budget number ready for you. I mean, that's
No.
that's a pretty quick turnaround. And you know, I think, you know, when it came to creating options in the last one, okay, the PST got us a lot of feedback, but the options were not created by the PST. The options were created, the 21 options were put together by the administration and the architects, and then we had community meetings that then added even more options when we were trying to whittle them down. And so, you know, the PST did a great job, you know, getting feedback from the community and engaging. I think that's just, you know, a thing we just have to remember that it wasn't that this group of outsiders was able to come in and make these decisions. Their biggest thing is they came in, they provided feedback from what they heard from folks, and then we kind of took that to the board, and then the board was
Well,
making
just so we're clear, PST stood for Process Steward Team, so it was more of a process. It was not substance.
Yeah.
It was not the job of the PST to come up with the options for
Correct.
the secondary space. It was just the process. I think there's stuff that we can learn from that PST. So I'm not saying we have to do the PST again. I'm just saying we need some type of, whether it's, again, well-noticed public meeting or two, because that's all the time we're going to have for.
Yep, absolutely.
Is something in early January that's going to get out there and say, all right, you know, what are we missing here, folks, as far as potential cuts? Are you willing? I mean, we just had fall sports. And at one of the presentations prior to the referendum that I attended, and I think at least 3 of the other board members were there, we had a lady say, let's just do away with all student extracurricular activities. And that's obviously an option, but I also think it's an option that would create, you know, a vicious cycle of downward for this district to go down the drain. Once we have students that are not having extracurriculars, which we all know enhances the academic experience greatly, we're going to see them fleeing to our neighboring districts if we didn't provide sports, all for the sake of trying to save. And even if we cut every extracurricular activity, it's just still a fraction of the amount of cuts that would have to be done. So,
Mr. President?
Yes.
You know, and last time there was a discussion about closing grade schools, I was a very loud voice being like, no, we're going to see enrollment go up. Like, I think we're going to be like Stillwater and, you know, growing. And I was wrong. Sorry. I know everyone here wishes it had turned out that way, but there is not growth in the K-12 population in this district. I think people need to understand what it means at the grade school level, at the middle school level, at the high school level. Like, the city of St. Paul has no band in middle school anymore. Like, these are the kind of things that can happen. It's horrifying to think of, like, no music in middle school, getting rid of specials in grade school. I'm not saying that's what we do, but that's what districts have had to do. So for people to really understand, I think, like, it sounds heartbreaking to think of, like, grade schoolers not having art class. You know, like, you just, so I think we need to show examples of what it really means for our kids. And then maybe people will get it. Maybe then $5 sounds worth it, you know.
But yeah, and again, it was just a matter of a lot of people not even knowing that it was on the ballot, despite all our efforts to get the word out there. We need somebody, a group of people, other than administration, other than the school board, advocating for this and educating the public. So hopefully we can get that going in what would essentially be 2.5 months from now. About 10 weeks is all we have until we have to make a decision about what goes on the ballot, so. All right. Any other comments on this? Otherwise, I entertain a motion to go into closed session. It's a very short motion this month.
Mr. President, the board will entertain a motion to convene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85, Parent 1, Parent E, to conduct specific public business regarding the UU property.
Second.
All right. Motion by Kate, second by Bob. Calls for a roll call vote. Bauman?
Aye.
Garza? Aye. Powers? Robson?
Aye.
Rozowski? Aye. Johnson? Aye. The ayes have it. We're going to go into closed session from which we will adjourn. Thank you. We're in recess until we can get the camera down.